Welcome, everybody. This is the 4th edition of the eye test. And naturally, I'm here, bath time's here, and we have a new transfer in just before the window shuts. Big up to Pat Lawless. Welcome to the eye test, people. Yes, if you're a fan of the eye test, I'm glad you're tuning in because we're going in on every single Man United game and performance out there and giving our own perspective on what we're seeing out there. We've had good feedback from you guys. We're loving what we're doing. It takes a lot of hard work, especially a few days after the game. So we have to study the game. We have to take our notes, and then we sit down with bath time and decide how we're going to plan out the show. And it's teamwork out here, but we're really grateful for everyone that supports this show. And one of our biggest supporters is Pat Lawless, and Pat's actually decided to join us to sort of have a hot seat on eye test because he likes so much. So welcome, Pat Lawless. How are you doing, man?
I prefer to be called student of the eye test, to be honest with you. Student of the eye test to the masters of the mid block is what I want to be known as, Pat Lawless. But now, how could I?
Mid block?
Yeah. I was only just bigging up bad time on Omundi earlier on. I thought if anyone had asked me what the mid block was a couple of weeks ago, I would have thought it was a karate move. But look, how could I not want to come on this show this week, especially after being with Omundi on Saturday to sit down and do a program that we've done for BT. So I'm looking forward to this. So I'm well excited for this.
Bath time, how do you feel about a new signing on board? We've been going solo, two of us for the last couple of weeks, 3 weeks. And now we've got Paddy. And you've actually requested that Paddy comes on as well, haven't you?
As much as I love Paddy, I've requested that Pat comes on.
Forgive me, Pat. Forgive me. Sorry.
We're always delighted to have people on. We love interacting with the comments and stuff. I know everyone's like really angry about the Glazers and excited about Sergio Dest and all that kind of stuff. And feel free to chat amongst yourselves. But we're going to be like focusing on tactics tonight, and really pleased that Pat's here to help us.
For sure. We're going to go straight in because no point having all these long intros, everything else. We were chatting for like the last half an hour backstage, planning the show. We had a good old chat. So we're not going to bore you with all that. We're going to go straight in to the game. So obviously this week is a big week for Manchester United Football Club. We've turned it around with 2 good wins. We've got Leicester on Thursday and Arsenal on Sunday. So obviously next week's show, we're going to try and incorporate the 2 games and study what's really gone down. But you get more confidence the more we sort of study what's going on for Man United at the moment. And one thing I would say is that we played Southampton the other day, and they just beaten Chelsea at home 2-1. So what do you think of that result, Bath time, judging from what we've seen with Southampton?
Yeah, I mean, Southampton are like they seem to be a much better team than I remember. Like, we stuck 9 past them like a season or 2 ago. But I was very, very impressed with their organisation at the weekend. And it doesn't surprise me that they're beating Chelsea, who I'm not particularly impressed with. But I suppose there are sort of Champions League contenders. And I think we're on the Champions League trail, lads.
Wow. You heard it here first. Pat, what do you think about that? Because obviously you've come and sat in my living room. We watched the game together. And I didn't really get any much feedback from you, but were you impressed with Southampton? And what do you think about us beating teams and then they're like Liverpool and them getting bounce back ability like Southampton today? They've come back and, from taking a lacing against us and gone and beat Chelsea.
Look, I don't think Eric Ten Hag wanted us to come out of the blocks the same way we did against Liverpool, because we probably burned the team out after about 2-3 months. We have to be somewhat reserved and build up. I'd imagine we build up the play at a lesser pace and try and break teams down instead of just going all out like we did against Liverpool. What I really enjoyed about Southampton was they have a couple of young players in there that I've never seen before. a good solid back four that they were giving it as good as you can get. They were giving us as good as we can give it as well. Like we had a good back four. We were working hard. We were working hard with each other. But I thought the Southampton back four worked just as well for the qualities they had, especially in the midfield and especially up front. So I'm not really surprised that Southampton bet Chelsea tonight because I thought they gave us a proper run for the money, to be honest. And we just played very well. And as you like to say, we invited them in and we soaked up the pressure at times, but we didn't let ourselves down. We kept compact. And there's a couple of individuals that he's going to explain to me that I was talking about and let me know, because I thought the likes of McTominay, Elanga, Sancho, Malacia, Martinez, just certain individuals I thought were just excellent on the night for little things they were doing that I'm starting to notice now from watching the eye test and listening to you guys.
Brilliant. So just going to quickly promote the show. Tomorrow night on BT Sports, 10:30, there's a show called The Football's On. And we at the Man United Agenda will be featuring on this show. So make sure you tune in, guys, and give us a shout out. Or just tune in and just if there's any way to comment, give us a big up because we had some filming. It's myself, Pat, and Paddy in our living room watching the game and giving our Man United's natural review on how the game went and a natural reaction as well. So make sure you tune in for that. A big endorsement for us, guys. Going to move on now. So this game, I want to start with battling performance because that's what we've displayed against Liverpool. We've displayed real good assertiveness going out there, wanting to win, being mean, being nasty, all the things that Bath Time loves to see in a football pitch. So did you see the same characteristics Bath Time this time that when we played Liverpool as to when we played Southampton? Because some people were saying to me the game was a bit dour and boring.
Well, I mean, so we always sort of pitch this show at people that don't really sort of play football anymore, or maybe haven't, so that everyone can be involved. You don't have to be playing for the dog and duck to come and play, to come and watch the show. But for me, that was a terrible game to watch. But I would love to play every game for the rest of my life in that kind of game. A battling performance, aerial balls, looking around, seeing the lads around you that you trust, defending as a unit. It's so important, that kind of stuff. Because I think if we look back to the Liverpool game last year, which was, I think it was followed by City and then a 4-1 at Watford. It was dark days, man. Dark days, innit? And when you have performances like that, you instantly lose trust in your team around you. Because you're getting your rivals putting 4 and 5 past you. It's disgusting. So what you do is you begin to sort of overcompensate, where you're the guy next to me, I don't trust him. I've got to go out. I've got to win this. I've got to carry the ball. I've got to make the sort of the Hollywood passes. Just think of Steven Gerrard at Liverpool, constantly wasting the ball because he didn't trust anyone on his team. And so that felt like the end of a team for me on Monday, the Liverpool games last season.
Yeah.
This feels like the start of something to me. If you think of Varane, right? Varane, World Cup winner, he's got more Champions Leagues than I've had ice creams. He's on the bus.
That's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah. He's on the bus, right? And he looks around at his team, and before Liverpool, he looks over. And it sees Malacia and Martinez, sitting on a seat. Their legs aren't touching the ground. They're reading Harry Potter, and he's who are these two children that have been signed from Eredivisie? And then he turns over and he sees Delo, and Delo's sort of trying to catch Cristiano Ronaldo's eye and is waving at him and things. Jesus Christ, this is my right back. And then he thinks, what's in front of me? And then he sees Eriksen and he's sacré bleu, mon Dieu, you were dead a year ago. What am I? How am I going to deal with this? And then he looks over and like McFred are like licking windows, and Fred's probably teaching McTominay how to tie his laces. And he's like, what am I going to do with these lads? But after that Liverpool game and after this Southampton game, when he's sitting on the bus, like waiting to go home, because I don't know, Fred's probably got himself stuck in a toilet or something, and they've all got to wait for him. But he looks over at Martinez and Malacia and he thinks yes. He looks at Delo and he thinks yes. He looks at Ericsson and McTominay and he thinks yes. And they can all trust each other now. And when you hear like Graham Souness and the other one, Roy Keane, like when you hear them talking about who you want in the trenches, what they mean is that when you're under pressure, like we were against Liverpool and we were against Southampton, is you want to look at your teammates and you're not worried about them. You know that they're going to do their job, and if someone makes a mistake, they're going to help you out. And I think that what we're seeing from this United, like this sort of back four and the double pivot, is I think we see trust from the fans, from us, but most importantly from their teammates. And I can't tell you how important that is. So I'm sorry I banged on for a bit, but I hope you enjoyed that.
No, I certainly did. I think, Pat, do you even...
I'm just sitting there imagining Varane looking around the back of the bus, and there's Fred sitting there eating an ice cream, melting down his arm, and McTominay licking it off his elbow.
Yeah.
It's like, that's true. It's like when I go onto the StreamYard or see who's on the StreamYard, you get confidence by people you see, you're working with. And I do agree. I think Halftime makes a fabulous point about looking around and trusting your teammates. It's not an individual sport. You have to look around and have faith that, I know he's got my back. He's going to do the work. He's going to help me out here. And these guys are solid. And that's what we're seeing right now. But Pat, just coming to you after that beautiful speech there from Halftime about trust and team and that kind of thing. Do you think he's right? And it's a valid point to say after two good games that we should be feeling trust in the team right now.
Yes, definitely. Like the cohesion amongst the squad, it just looks better. Like one of the things I noticed was Sancho and Malacia. They're building up such a good relationship on that left-hand side. It's really enjoyable to watch. They're good footballers, the pair of them. But the left side's been so weak for so long. I think now the left side's looking so much better after two games. It's starting to make the right-hand side look a bit weaker with Elanga and Delo. Even though I'm actually singing Delo's praises because he's starting to get stuck in now. So even though I call him the puppy, he's got 2 yellow cards in 2 games in a row. So he's, in my eyes, I'm absolutely delighted with him. But like Eric Ten Hag isn't giving each one of these lads individual instructions on what to do. He's giving them instructions as a team. And what they're going to be looking at is they're going to see Malacia, Martinez, for example, and Varane's looking at them going, they're actually following out with Eric Ten Hag's instructions perfectly and doing what he's asking. And not only are they doing that, they're working as a team. So it's good to see, and I couldn't be happier with it.
So you've got a comment here from J.I. saying Varane and Martinez have a great understanding already, onwards and upwards. So already after the first 2 games, it was really poor. But after 2 games now, I've seen that their confidence being lifted in the fans. They really sort of behind Martinez, especially. He sort of shows that on the pitch. You can't hide that. You can see him gritting his teeth and really be looking determined and, kicking balls off the line and tackling, getting in, munching people. He's outstanding. And I would love to have a player like that on my side. Someone you know is going to be, like I said, in the trenches with you. So important.
Geeing up De Gea as well. You see him every time De Gea pulls out a save, he's over there and he pulled the short off his back.
So talk us through that one, please, because I remember you talking about that earlier.
Which one was it again?
It was a save, wasn't it? It was an important save or something from.
Which I think it was the corner. I think it was the Southampton corner, and Dave De Gea pulled up a good save, and De Gea hadn't even got back to his feet. And Martinez running over with his hands on his back, shaking De Gea into the net with excitement, saying, "Well done." And he was doing the same in the Liverpool game. He made Manchester United made 3 blocks after the space of 1 corner, and Martinez is jumping 5 in each other. So he's not only doing his own, he's pulling he's not doing his own shift. He's geeing up all the players around him, and it's clearly having an effect on Malacia and Delo. The only one that seems to be staying calm and collective is Varane, because that's just the type of player that he is.
So there's a lot of key components that we're talking here, but just talking about having confidence and looking around your teammates and know that they're on it, they're all on the same page. That's one factor. That's really good. But we're here to talk about tactics and what actually happens in the game and what we're seeing here. So we're going to go into the best part of the show for me, which is the graphics, and we're going to analyze what went down. So here we go. So here we go. We're on screen now. What are we seeing here?
All right, so we're gonna get on to Pat's favourite subject, which is the mid block, and we're gonna discuss the first half and what was going on at the start. So as you know, I hate formations. I much prefer how we build up, and what we were doing was quite interesting, at least to me, where we would have our double pivot like in the middle here, but instead of having our fullbacks both up, we were playing asymmetrical.
Yep.
And what that means, right, is that you have one fullback that will come and tuck in, and the other one will push high. You'll have your corresponding forward, like Alangi in this case, who will come in, and you'll play with a 3. And so what this means is that Southampton were playing they were also playing a 3-4. Let me get these numbers a bit better. They were also playing a 3-4-3 mid block, like this. But the issue is, right, is that with the mid block, you block the middle of the pitch, like obviously. So there will be no pressure until you get to about this line here. Like you see the yellow line, yeah.
Yeah.
And you also can't press as a unit in a mid block. It's about protecting the center of the pitch, and it's zonal, so it's not man to man. So if you look at this, what you can instantly see is that we have in this line here, we've got 4, and they've got 3. So they have to come up like this, and they've gone man to man with us.
Yeah.
And if Alanga and Malacia go wide, because they're in a mid block, they can't break this block, right? They can't send a man out there, because then Sancho can come in and so on.
Yes.
So what our tactic basically was in the first half, was with this space that we had here, we were looking for channel balls for Sancho and Elanga, and we were then going to try and get into this kind of shape where we have like the 3 in midfield, which he likes. Normally you would expect to see sort of Delo here, but because they were playing 3, we wanted to have a 3. And they had a young lad who was called Ketchup. Pat, what was he called? Like the right-sided centre-back.
His name was... It was
Bella.
His name was Bella Kocha.
Yeah.
Bella Kocha. How many times did we see balls into this area with Sancho looking for Bella Kocha?
Yeah.
A lot. We were seeing a lot of direct balls being played through. There was no progression from Varane by carrying the ball. It was direct balls over here because we were using this asymmetrical shape. So it would sort of end up looking like this, and it would allow Malacia to either receive the ball or, as we did, to go long. And it didn't work very well, did it, gentlemen?
Not in the first half, no.
No, not really.
I've got a few questions. Sorry, I've got a few questions about it. So let's go back and just do ABC of asymmetrical defense, because I've noticed this as well. So if we go back to a back 4, so this is the build-up play. He'd done this at Ajax as well with Danny Blind and the Moroccan guy, who was usually the one who was pushing up. I noticed in the first half, Dallo was pushing up and Malacia was coming into the back 3. But just a question quickly. So if you're opposing manager, Does that make, and we've kind of answered the question for me with the formation of 3-4-3, but does that clearly make Dalot an easy target to mark because they know the ball's likely to come to him because he's in that position, he's gone wide. But
yeah, it does. But because it's zonal, there's no man marking, is there? So what would happen is your block has to shift across like this.
And do you think they've done that though, Bath time? I can't recall. Do you think they would have done that during the game? Or do you think they would have been ready for this?
No, I think so how they would start central, right? They would start central, and what they would try and do is let me get the ball. Is that Varane and Martinez were, as I say, were not moving with the ball. They were pretty much standing, waiting for rotations to happen here. And with a mid block, there's always a little area in behind. Like this is the space that you give up in a mid block. And so, like, what you want to do is you want to pull these players out of position, and the way that you do it is that you would get a Langer or someone else up here. So now you can see that they have to go man to man, and if a Langer's out wide, you can see gaps developing between the centre backs. So someone else has to come in. And then someone else has to come in, and the mid block changes to a 2, like a 2-4-2, and that allows people to get up the pitch. So what we were trying to do was we were trying to suck them in using this asymmetrical build up, and not playing through the pivots. We were trying to suck them in and then hit them with a long ball from Martinez and Varane. I mean, once or twice, I think we tried to play through the lines along the ground, but we didn't really.
So in that area, isn't it? To get
through. And and this is like the real problem is that when you looked at how Southampton built up like this, where they had a 3, and we had a 3 with either Dalot or Malacia inverting into a 3. But they did it with their goalkeeper. And that means that they have an extra man. Yep. And this was a big problem for United. Because at first we were playing with a block of 3, but there was so much space. There was so much space that we actually had to pull back into the traditional block, which is much more like this, where like Rashford will come out, and Rashford did quite well actually at this, where he was forcing the ball in one direction, which was he was trying to stop it being played into this area over here. Like Southampton were targeting Malacia and Martinez. Like what 100% they were going for them, like every time. And Rashford's job was to try and force the ball onto this side. And Rashford actually did pretty well at it, to be honest. I know Pat's not keen on. I didn't think Rashford had a good game. I think Rashford played well.
What I was just unsure is that every time the ball seemed to get into the box, it seemed to be Bruno on the end of it, and we couldn't seem to see Rashford in the box. And what I was saying to Omundi was he sacrificing his own chance for a shot on goal to stretch the team out wider to allow Bruno to get that run in, and that was one of the queries I had for the show tonight. You know.
All right. Yeah. Well, we'll definitely get on to that, but I just want to show you, lads, something called La Salida del Volpe, which I know sounds very complicated, but it's literally just a sort of a set piece that was developed in the early 2000s that Pep Guardiola started using for Barcelona, and it is about 20 years old. But it's something that I think United should be looking at doing, which is that instead of sending in a fullback, and Ten Hag has consistently done this, what you do is you push your fullbacks up and you drop a pivot in. So it could be Eriksen, and Eriksen actually did start to do this in the game, and by sending your fullbacks high and wide, and by dropping another midfielder in, you have to have 4 people in the block, right? Because otherwise you're outnumbered.
Yeah.
So to get this all looking nice, you would expect something. You'd expect something like this, simply from dropping the pivot in, and then you split your fullbacks, and you're able to progress on either side, because the two players here they're unable to press effectively to stop you playing the ball, and your goalkeeper is also part of this. And I believe if we'd signed Timber would have played this role here, because he's meant to be an extremely good passer of the football. And I think that United should be doing this because it gives us a little bit more width. But at the moment, Ten Hag, he wants to keep like the pivot in the centre of the midfield, and go asymmetrical, which I'm not a huge fan of, because it means that we end up just playing the ball in one area. And in this game, we targeted the 19-year-old, and he absolutely ate Sancho alive.
Physically, he was a beast, wasn't he?
And
you couldn't run him. You couldn't drive at him. He would run with you. He could stand up to you. He's a strong beast. Yeah. So fair play.
Disciplined as well. He didn't dive in. Like, we didn't get him on a yellow card. And later, I've just realised we've got 3 balls on the pitch. And later on, we started. We switched. Where, as Omundi correctly pointed out, Malathia came into the 3, and we put Delo here, and we tried to get Alanga in channel balls, and Alanga also couldn't really do too much.
No, that young left back then, Jempo, was a nightmare for Alanga. He was touch tight with him all game.
Yeah, he's. I mean, I don't even think he's a fullback. I think he's a winger.
He's not. He's just filling in.
Was he?
Yeah,
he's a beast.
So like it was a really difficult first half, but we do have some action to show you from the first half, unless anyone has any questions or Pat or Omundi want to chime in. Yeah,
I've got a couple of questions. I like, so you're saying you're not a fan of formations, and I understand that, but the formations change during the game. Like you said, so we've gone to a 3-4-3 when we've gone asymmetric with the fullback, for example, when we're trying to bring the ball out. But it's amazing, isn't it, that he can go to a 3-4-3. Just typically straight reminds me of Ajax or the Dutch team of '74, or the Ajax 3 times they've won the Champions League in the 69, 70, 71. They went 3-4-3, and Johan Cruyff endorsed the 3-4-3, and even Van Gaal with his '95 team was a 3-4-3, and he had good. But the same thing is they had Frank de Boer. They had Danny Blind, they had Rijkaard, good players who were press resistant, good on the ball, could spray a ball as well. We all know Frank de Boer could hit a ball. And that's a 95 team. And as for the Cruyff team, so many great players back then who could sort of interchange and be comfortable in these different positions. And this is something revolutionary, which we call total football. And so formations went out the window because no one would know how to pick up. But you can see how good the game's evolved, because I was going to ask you these questions, but you've already answered it for me, Bath Time, by showing what the Southampton manager did to set up and how they sort of adjusted and had to adapt. Even though we had the mid-block, when we went asymmetrical, they were still able to sort of cover that pass to that area as well. So it's amazing how you say football devolves. It does in one sense with tactics and that kind of thing, but tactics... I'm going back to '74, and we've seen the same thing in '74, for example. So it's a beautiful game, and it's beautiful how things change and chop and change. But if effective, last point, the guy you're saying about the Argentine manager who had housed
La Volpe.
That's about a midfielder coming into the back 3 to help bring the ball out.
So it would have been Busquets, at Barcelona.
So I that's why I think Frankie de Jong, he does that brilliantly. He done it for Ajax brilliantly. So I thought maybe that was what the manager was looking for. So do you think it makes a difference that we got Casemiro now? Do you think responsibility lies on Eriksen or Casemiro or someone else to come in?
Casemiro, yeah.
Sorry,
I love
Casemiro. Yeah.
Casemiro, sorry.
That means the best house.
So who do you think best suited for this role? Because we've seen Eriksen get pinched against Brentford a couple of times.
I don't think that a single pivot works with De Gea. I'm very interested in Dubravnik or whatever he's called. Can come in and demonstrate the ability to beat the press with long balls. So like, look, if you have your typical 5-man press coming in, if you can bypass the ball every time, like across to like your fullback or whatever, then they have to. It's like the right to play. If you remember, we talked about that. They can't do the press anymore. But Eriksen or Casemiro coming in, I don't know a lot. I have to say, I don't know a lot about Casemiro. I've obviously seen Real play in like the Champions League, and they just basically played a low block and shithoused their way to like the cup final. Which I enjoyed a lot. And I think that I don't know is the question, because I know I'm going to get slated for this in the comments, and you can all bring it on. But I think there's a place in this team against low blocks, mid blocks for Harry Maguire. I think he's our best carrier of the ball from defence, and I think he's our best progressive passer. And I don't know if we need to drop someone back in from the midfield. Like if we were to make Delot into a 3 and Martinez is Maguire, I think he can take the ball up the pitch and we can maintain having people up here. So it's exciting to see. But as we see more of Casemiro, maybe we'll find out if he can play the pivot. But he's no Frankie de Jong. Like he's not going to have that level of technique, but you know he's more of a sort of destroyer than a creator, which I know is very cliched. And I haven't answered the question, but the answer is I don't know. So I hope that's helpful.
Cosman's saying
So to answer your question with a question, I don't know either.
Yeah.
Cosman's saying that he's a slow ball carrier, Casemiro, and he's saying he's too slow as well. Do you see anything in Casemiro to say that suggest that he could play the role that Bath Times illustrated here?
From looking, I'm the same as yourselves, lads. What I've seen of Casemiro is mainly Champions League games, and he's in there with the team playing a low block, and Casemiro's in there just to ruffle people up. What I've seen of him, I don't know if he's the kind of player, the Frankie de Jong player that we're talking about. So, can he play in there? I'm not too sure. We'll have to wait to see a few games and be able to form my own opinion of him.
Bath Time, I made a mistake. I wasn't talking about. He wasn't talking about Casemiro. He's talking about Maguire, saying he's too slow and slow ball carrier as well. Like that's an issue. Do you want to just reiterate what you mean by Maguire playing in that role and why you think he's suited?
We'll have a look more of this when we get to the second half. But it doesn't actually matter if he's quick or if he's slow. What's important is that he gets the ball up the pitch and he engages the block. So when you engage the block, and then you either beat it with a dribble or with a pass, the block has to reposition and you get further up the pitch, and then you can transition into your rest defence and set up for like possession football. Like Maguire's speed is of no issue in doing this, and he's also he's also one of our best switch passers and one of our best between the line passers. I'm not dissing Varane. I'm not dissing Martinez. I think that they are our starting they're our first choice pairing at the moment. But I think in games like this where we're struggling to get anywhere, which we were in the first half, Maguire is a good option to bring on because he can break the lines and he can progress the ball up the pitch. And Martinez and Varane didn't demonstrate that in the first half, at least not to me. But I understand it's Maguire, so everyone's going to lose their shit about it.
Yeah, the comments are flying in already. Just quickly before we go on, Harry will raise his hand, call some of his teammates, and this causes anxiety in defence and invite a press on us. That's why he's been dropped, says Cosman. And JR saying he's not impressed by the rocks that he got. He's just Harry who engaged the block.
Very good. That's very good. That's J-Lo, Jenny from the vlog. Nice.
All right. Have you got some moving graphics? Well, you know I
Yeah,
love
I
my moving
have, I have,
graphics.
I
Yeah,
have. Right. So
brilliant.
I don't know what this is, but we'll play it and we'll find out.
Southampton hit that area again, haven't they? With a long ball,
I know
like
what this
Brighton
is.
Brentford.
I know what this is. Okay, so one sort of tactical thing that I wanted to talk about was something that everyone spotted in the first half, which was Scott McTominay's defensive work. And this is McTominay helping out Martinez and Varane by defending the near post. So if you want to give us some commentary, and then we can go through it.
Okay, so Southampton played a long ball from the keeper, their back free keeper. Ball's been recycled. They've got overlap here, crossed the ball, whipped it into the box, and McTominay has come through and cleared the ball. So McTominay's number 6. So keep an eye on 6, guys. He's in midfield at the moment. The ball's whipped in, and McTominay makes a charging run, gets in between the centre backs, and gets his nut on that and clears it out. So without him making that run or clearing that ball, we might have been in some trouble there because they had numbers in the box. Well done, McTominay.
Okay, so I want to sort of like go through this because this is like this isn't just McTominay. This is the whole team working together, and it was something we saw a lot. Where after the Brentford match, we do need to protect Martinez and Malacia in the air. Like I know everyone's like saying, he wins every header, but he doesn't, and he's getting targeted, and we need to help him out as a team. So what you can see here is that when the second ball is won, it goes out to their full back here. What you are seeing is you're going to see Malacia get back into position, and you're going to see Delo get back into position. So it will look, if I just clear some things out here, you will see Malacia, Varane, and Delo become centre backs.
Martinez or Malacia?
Martinez, sorry. What you will see from Malacia and from Sancho is that they will both try and stop the cross, and they need to get better at this because too many crosses came in. And then the thing that I really liked was that Eriksen would take up the half space position, which is this area here. And this is where a lot of dirty work gets done by players like De Bruyne, Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Yeah.
And McTominay would then fill in with Bruno and Alanga making the block and Rashford coming here. And that was
Nice.
that is how we started trying to cope with aerial bombardment. So when you watch it again, this number 3 is James Ward-Prowse, I think, or Price, whatever he's called, and he actually makes an incredibly good run that fools Eriksen. But what it does is it takes it away from the half space. So here you can see the shape beginning to happen. You can see Sancho's a little bit behind. So Eriksen has had to come into cover. You can see Malacia is coming out, and you can see that these lads are all getting back in, and McTominay is getting into the near post. And Alanga and Bruno should be making that run there. I can't actually remember if they do. No, a bit lazy from them.
Yep.
But this work here from these players is really, really, really good. Because Sancho, to be honest, should be here. He isn't.
Yep.
So Eriksen's come out to cover. But you've got Malacia trying to stop the cross, and we've got enough men in the box. And I think, once again, a lot of this is to protect Martinez, but I also think it's to protect De Gea. Like near post crosses that are this close to goal, you'd expect your keeper to be coming out and doing something with them.
Yeah.
Like De Gea claimed 2 crosses in that match, and they were both basically standing on his line. So, Pat, I hope that illustrated like why McTominay was getting so many crosses.
Yeah, and it was the reason why myself and Omundi kept bigging up Scott in the preview in the match reaction of the game is because I just seen every time he just seemed to be in the right place, the right time for crosses coming in, and any time we were coming back, it looked like we were just pulling in as a unit. So there was a lot of teamwork going on there, but I don't know if you've noticed it, but was it because of you had that was it Malacia because Malacia was playing in the next tier of the midfield? Was that how Sancho was covering them sometimes? What I noticed was it because Malacia was a little bit further up the pitch. He was making,
Yes.
and Sancho was behind them. That was something else that I noticed.
Yeah, like Malacia and Sancho are developing a good partnership, and I'll show you some stuff in the next clip in a second. But I tell you what was a concern about this was that Sancho and Malacia, despite working hard, and Delo and Alanga as well, we were allowing far too many crosses into the box.
Right.
Like it's a real concern because all that had to happen was like each one of these players, Martinez, Scott, and Varane, each one of them like they basically won like every header and they played extremely well. But you can't put the defence under that much pressure for a match and expect to get out with a clean sheet. I know we did, but we have to get better at defending in these areas here. And I know everyone's raving about Malice here. I thought he was the weakest of our players at the weekend because because he didn't stop one cross.
So we'll get punished by a better team, is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much. Like,
but hold on, he didn't stop one cross, but he was there. He was there thereabouts. It was not like he was lost. He was not far off his man. I felt that he was getting close and trying to stand up and go with the guy. But Pat did mention by half time during the game that they were concentrating on our left. And as you said, I think you've answered the question again for me by saying that teams are targeting that area with the left back, the Martinez, that area there. And in that graphic there, the ball was played from the goalkeeper into that area again. So Sancho and Malacia had to work back and in combinations in a way. But I also want just to add, as I said about myself, I do think it's okay if the crosses come in because we're supposed to deal with it in that area, you know. If the balls come in, you've got the advantage. You should be dealing with this stuff. So I think it's about the balance. I'm agreeing with you in a sense, but I also think that if the balls do come in, because we are playing quite narrow lately as Man United, and we have got inverted fullbacks. So if they do double up or get a crossing, because that wasn't a cross from the byline across the 6-yard box, that was a cross from kind of deep from Ward-Prowse. So if they do get crossed in, that should be dealt with. It was a high ball, a floated in cross, and it was dealt with as from McTominay. But I'd rather see crosses coming from that area than them getting taken across the 6-yard box, where you're going to score a lot more goals than deep from where they did there. So I'm not too disheartened by that.
But
yeah, the problem
with Malacia,
yeah.
but with Malacia, sorry, Baton, but with Malacia there, it's just something that Eric Ten Hag's going to pick up on and just polish him because he's a young raw defender.
Yeah, maybe, but like he's also in the first team for Manchester United. He can't be like learning on the job, like in defence. And I think that the issue that I had is that we committed 4 players to deal with these crosses. We had 2 players on each side. Like we would have 3 players, sorry, protecting, like sort of doubling up on the man, and then Eriksen protecting the half space, and that meant that we only had 3 players to get us out. And for me, I think that it would be much better if we weren't doubling up, simply just so that we could get out. Like we had maybe half an hour of heading practice in the last 30 minutes of the match, of just like McTominay, Varane, and Martinez just constantly like defending against corners and crosses. And I know on Monday you were all right with it, but I was nervous. Like you can't give Ward-Prowse and these players, you can't allow them to keep putting crosses in because you'll get punished. But that's what I saw in the that's why McTominay basically like look, he just had a whale of a time just heading the ball all match. It was. I'd love to have played in a game like that. It must be so fun.
But
But if we,
even him
yeah,
to spot the danger, because he made the run into the area early.
yeah,
It wasn't like he didn't make it when the ball was played. He was there, ready to clear that up. Do you think he's been instructed to do this? Because we've got a few comments
yes,
here. So there's a comment here from JR saying McTominay's position seems to be improving his defending on the transition. Ten Hag coaching. Emma's saying, but the fact that they're doing it, even if it's not perfect, is positive for me and shows that they listen and are working together. And Cosman said you can't trust Shaw anymore. And finally, JR saying, how many times have we been punished in recent years, especially against Southampton? So, any response to those comments there, guys?
I 100% agree with MK. This is all positive and it's all progressive for me. I couldn't be happier. They can't play Luke Shaw anymore. Look, I agree with that, and I don't want to put my foot in my mouth and say it, but I think Luke Shaw was probably the weaker link than Maguire was, and if Maguire played beside Malacia, you probably see a better Harry Maguire in a stronger defence there with Malacia, Delo, and Varane than with Shaw playing in there. So Harry Maguire was a big scapegoat for Luke Shaw last year, I think. For previous games. But we have been punished many a time, especially in that first half, just before the first half ends, or just before the second half starts, just after the second half starts, and then we're chasing the game for the whole game, and it ends up 1-1, and their goalkeeper plays a worldly. How many times have we seen that last year?
Just to add as well, I think with Shaw playing, and usually with Maguire, especially last season, there's times he was in no man's land. We've seen that graphic go over, played over and over again there, and you've seen how close Malacia gets close to the man. Is he makes a decision, I'm either going to get close to him or I'm going to tuck him with my centre backs, and he does that. He makes that decision very early, and he's always decisive with it, I believe. So Shaw, as we saw against Liverpool, he leaves a lot of space in between him and the Maguire. Doesn't go out to get his man early, which allows them to come to the byline and get crosses in, which is a bit more earlier. So there's a lot of decision making there from Shaw, which he needs to improve on, or maybe he just hasn't got the legs to get out there quicker, like Malacia is doing at the moment. I'm not sure.
When I think back to Shaw's mistakes, or the ones that we said were mistakes this season, he was left 2v1 at the back post against Brighton. I think a lot of it was, if you remember that, it was Bruno and Ericsson weren't working hard enough to get back to help him. And Fred as well, did his thing where he breaks the block. And I think that what we're seeing is, Ericsson is not a natural pivot player. He's an attacking midfielder that should be operating in half spaces. But him and McTominay are disciplined and they respect the block. And when you respect the block, it makes it so much easier for the defenders. And you've also got Sancho coming back and helping. So with Shaw, he had Rashford and Fred as his backup, and they're not great, are they? Defensively.
Yeah.
So I think we might be being a little bit unkind to Shaw because Malacia and Martinez are getting huge protection, and that's because they add so much.
So once we improve, with like you said, gave example there about the block with McTominay and Ericsson and some more security. So once we improve, do you think Shaw could easily come back on the side and be successful and reduce any kind of mistakes like that based on being in a better unit?
100%. If you're better if you play with better players, and the thing is that Shaw will come back into the team at some point. We've got so many games that he's not just going to be sitting on the bench all season. He's going to come in, and at the moment with the midfield, we've got this wonderful thing where is Casemiro going to get benched by McTominay? Is Bruno going to lose his place to Ericsson? Is Fred and Casemiro going to start? Because we now have trust in Ericsson and in McTominay as a pivot, And if Shaw can come in and play a good couple of games, we'll have exactly the same thing with Malacia. And this is what we need from our football club. We need to sort of, instead of being saying, I can't believe this guy's a professional footballer, we play the other one by default. I want people saying, like, do you know what? Like, I want Malacia's aggression, or I want Shaw's direct running for this game. Like, so it's really exciting times. And what we're doing is we're giving the platform to these players to perform by having a disciplined block.
So does that mean there's a chance for Aaron Wan-Bissaka to come back into that team to play in
you took the words out of my mouth.
The low role beside? Sorry, Omundi. See, that's a one weekend together. We're kindred spirits, you know what I mean? It was all them defensive drills you made me do out in that garden. With what the point you were saying earlier on, bad time where you had Malacia pushing up and there was 3 at the back. And it was Martinez, Varane, and the low was sitting back, and all the balls were going on the pitch. Is there a possibility that if we're going to play that kind of system again, could we swap the low for Aaron Wan-Bissaka in the second half? And
Ollie used to do it. Ollie used to have like Wan-Bissaka as a third centre back a lot of the time. We just gave up the right side of the pitch, and Wan-Bissaka like is very good at 2 things. Like, one is slide tackling. And the other one, which he's never given any credit for, is he's extremely good at getting the ball out of defence. Like, he's really good at progressing it out of defence. I know that Ten Hag really doesn't rate him, but at some point he'll play.
But you just think that's because the fella's confidence is shot like Luke Shaw?
I can't really speak to their sort of confidence and stuff. I imagine it's more that Wan-Bissaka looks like a man falling up the stairs when he dribbles football.
Yeah, but I know, come here. I don't doubt that. But when he first came to Manchester United in his first year, everybody was calling him the spoiler, and everybody was afraid to go down that side of the pitch he was on because he'd take the ball off them, and you definitely weren't getting past him. But going back 5-6 weeks ago, like what you said, he looks like a man falling up the stairs. He looked terrified of his own shadow to look around to see if anybody was near him, where before he was never afraid of that.
Well, like, look, when we had so let's pretend that. In fact, I'll just change this. So we used to have Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and we used to have Victor Lindelof. Like, Maguire would be the left-sided one, and these 2 players here were absolutely atrocious at the back post. Yeah. Like, so many goals went in because Wan-Bissaka, and let's be honest, he's been a fullback for about 3 seasons. Apparently he was a right winger. I can't believe he was, but he was. And we were getting caught out all the time. And one big problem was because Mason Greenwood was our right winger, and when Greenwood should be here, Greenwood was here. He was absolutely useless at working back. So do I think that there's a way for Aaron Wan-Bissaka to get back in the team? Yes. But I don't think Ten Hag wants him. I think if you could ask Ten Hag to replace a player in the squad, he'd probably start with Ronaldo because he's being difficult. But for footballing reasons, it would be Wan-Bissaka because he doesn't have enough technical ability to play the right back role. Like, we saw Delo get an assist in this match with an extremely good cross. Like, I don't think Wan-Bissaka has the ability to pick Bruno out like that. I think he just hits it hard to the near post along the ground, and it goes out for a corner. Yeah.
All right, so, guys. I think that's a good, fair point. So we've covered the build-up, the shape, which transforms to a 3-4-3 when we were building up against Southampton, meaning there's an asymmetric fullback, whether it be Dalot or Malacia, pushing up into the midfield, and the other guy filling in to make a back 3. We also talked about how they targeted our left side, left back, and left centre back, which was Martinez and Malacia, probably the 2 smallest guys on the pitch, with that long ball, which worked well for Brighton and Brentford, and how we dealt with it with the shape. That was really well illustrated. And also we talked about how McTominay has dropped in to clear the near post when the crosses were coming in, and filling in as an extra centre back and getting in, which is something that Pat highlighted when we were watching the game live. So are we going to move on now to, is this mid-block or half-time? because obviously it was 0-0 at this point. There wasn't people say there wasn't much action, but we did. Obviously, they had that triple block move. There was a few bits of action where we could have scored, but overall it was 0-0 at half time. So you go into half time now, and the manager's obviously studying it and being the genius that he is, just like bath time. I think he found out what he actually told the boys to do to make a difference.
All right. So we're going to the second half, yeah?
Yeah, second half now.
I'm actually going to close all of these because I've forgotten what order they're in and bring up my notes. So the second half, this is the first thing that happened in the second half, and there were big changes. So you can see that Brighton have just booted the ball to us, and Eriksen has come in here, and we're about to see what happens. So if you give us some commentary for this Monday, and then we'll break it down.
Okay. So the ball's gone into Varane now, who's actually driven forward, engaged the forward guy, then popped off to Dalot, who plays it to Langer, plays a 1-2 with Rashford, and gets played in again by Bruno. Very sharp movement there. Nice play. Once again, Varane moves the ball forward, pass it off to Dalot, who pops it into Langer's feet. He does a 1-2 with Rashford, which is nice link-up play, who plays into Bruno, and Bruno plays the ball into the space in behind the two centre-backs, and Langer's just unlucky not to get there. So in the space of 2-3 passes and a little 1-2 and a little triangle, a little good play by Rashford as well with his back to goal, something I really doubt he can do, but he seemed to have done it there. We've created a chance. But the main difference is we brought it out from bringing it out from the back, engaging with Varane, engaging the block, and suddenly popping off. We created a chance in 3-4 passes.
Yeah, so what we did was really good here. Like, first of all, we've got McTominay pinning their two players, right? Because you have to protect the centre of the pitch. So McTominay has got the 10 and the 9 on him, and Eriksen has attracted the 11. So their block is out here. And what happens, as you see, is that we get it quickly out to Varane, and he comes in and he engages the block. So when he gets the ball past the number 9, we're on. Because we've got this big space that's developed here. Wow. Their block is bad, and Rashford is moving into that space that allows Malacia to have a little look at that gap there, and you've got Sancho round the back, which is making this gap here bigger. So this is the start of actual positional play. And as it goes on, we see it gets played out to Dalot. So Dalot has now this guy's come in to fill in the block. So they're in a much better shape now, but it's got a Langer free. Right? And so all this is by McTominay tying up their two midfielders and Varane then driving in and tying this guy up, we have finally beaten the block. Instead of booting it into these areas here, we've now got Alangi with time and space to go. And then Rashford, absolutely brilliant what Rashford has done. Rashford, you would if this was Ronaldo would be in a central area, but Rashford has sort of curved his run in, has participated with build-up play. The number 5's attracted, the number 4's attracted, and Bruno has now got that to run into. And we've also got we've got enough men back for the transition.
Yep.
Maybe not for a counter press, but we're okay to do it. Alanga drives in. Rashford, still doing well, is now in a position to run outside here, and he's basically got these 3 men over here all concerned with just him. And that allows the space here for Alangi to get into. And Alanga does well, makes the pass. And now we have pulled all these players too far up, space in behind, and Bruno's got a lot of options. He can hit it out here to Sancho. He can hit it out here for Rashford. But Bruno, being Bruno, tries the impossible, and it actually works.
The boomerang ball.
Yeah, it works. And then Elanga you can't really sort of see it off these graphics, but Elanga, if he had a left foot, would be able to score.
Can we just reverse the play?
What do you mean?
Rewind it at the start of the move,
okay,
please.
Sure. Right, yeah.
So, just want to say, because we're getting Anthony now, and Anthony, if Anthony is Elanga here, he picks up these same positions Anthony does.
Mm-hmm.
So he's drawing players out. He's got a left foot here, pops it in. He loves playing 1-2s, a bit like Sancho, and he's got a left foot. He might have slotted that. That's a good addition to our side, I think. Because with all the highlights I've seen of Anthony, what Elanga's doing right now is how Anthony seems to play.
So the right hand side of the box is the half space, yeah.
So the half space is
yeah.
Like this area here is wide, like this bit here. That's the central area, and these bits here in between the wide area. This is so messy. In between the wide area. So basically,
it's the half space.
Yeah. This area here.
That's where I'm seeing Anthony takes. See where Rashford is now. That's where I was seeing Anthony taking shots from on his left foot.
Yes, this is this area here is the half space, and the reason it's so important is because it's difficult to know who you should mark in the half space. Because, for example, if I take it back to here, right, Elanga is wide and Rashford is central. Everything's very, very easy to mark. Right, you know that the two centre backs are going to be on the striker, and you know that the full back and the winger are going to double up on Elanga. But as Rashford gets into the half space, he's attracted all these men towards him because it's difficult to know who to mark, and that is pulling the centre backs apart, which is moving the block across. That means that there's more space to exploit. So you will see players like Trent Alexander-Arnold is always in this space here. De Bruyne is always in this space here because it gives you a little bit more time and it opens up the team. So it's really, really important to get players in the half space. And I think you're right, Omundi, when you talk about Elanga playing like Anthony, because on tour, I don't know if you remember who our fourth choice centre-back was.
Tellez.
Yeah.
Yes. Tellez was preparing us for the arrival of Martinez.
Yeah.
And I think that Elanga in the second half they basically said, right, we're just going to play him how we're going to play Anthony, which is starting out wide and coming in to the half space, as opposed to starting out narrow and playing channel balls. So is there anything else that you want to go through on this move, Omundi, before we look at the goal?
Just once again, I think we should highlight Rashford because I'm the one I've really put it out there a lot. Kind of put my head on the chopping block at the moment because I'm saying that Rashford's not a number 9. He doesn't really score many. I don't think he's got that play about him. I'm really been impressed with Martial, what he showed in pre-season, playing that number 9 role, doing exactly what we're seeing Rashford do here, coming deep, peeling off the centre back, and a nice little 1-2 touch, playing the way he's facing and playing team football, bringing other players in, like the rotation. And that's why I was trying to explain to Pat when we were discussing it during the game that I felt that Rashford wasn't at the end of things because he was too busy setting things up, which Ronaldo doesn't do, coming deep, peeling off, bringing the centre back out of shape and allowing someone else to attack that space. That's why I felt that Bruno was getting on the end of crosses rather than Rashford because he doesn't sort of... Yeah,
100%.
It's a positive by him. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I can actually show that to you, what Pat is talking about here, where in a sort of Ten Hag system, right, you will have a striker starting off central and playing as, it's not quite a false 9, but it's similar. He will move into different areas to once again try and drag these centre-backs either out of position or widen the gap between them.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
here, this is going to be the. We'll do this quickly. This is going to be the Eriksen cross that Bruno nearly got on the end of. We've booted it up the pitch, and it's going to bounce about before we get our hands on it. So here, this is all like Pat. This is all perfectly normal. We've got a 3. We're in a decent block. You can see that we've got the asymmetrical build up, or a 4-3-3. We've got Bruno between the lines, having played the ball. All fairly standard stuff.
I see Rashford going down there again.
Yeah. So Rashford is now like Sancho, and like you can already see Bruno beginning to get into position, and you can see that Sancho and Rashford are a problem for these two, because like someone's got to go with them, and that that this guy's got to go and put pressure on the ball for Malacia, or he's got to get into a block. But either way, Eriksen's getting this ball, and there's also shout out rest defense.
Rest defense.
Rest defense.
And now Rashford has pulled back into this space here.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
that shows. Yeah. Well, just quickly, why would Rashford come away? Is he trying to draw the players out, or do you think he's going to be involved in the build-up?
I think it's a combination. It's getting space for himself. It's offering another passing angle, because if Eriksen just pops it there, Rashford can come on. He can shoot. He can drive. He can try and play a 1-2, but he's got a huge amount of space. He's got a huge amount of space, hasn't he? And he's central, and you can see that also. Shout out Alangi. Alangi's width has pulled a lot of people over, and it's an excellent delivery from
with his
from
left
Eriksen.
foot.
Eriksen.
Yeah.
One of many are they?
Also, that's the half space, which is exactly where we want Eriksen.
Yeah.
Just quickly to add, I think Pep Guardiola, I can't say his name now. Pep Guardiola. If you look at the stats, they suggest that his team play more cutbacks than actual crosses than anyone else. So when they're running down, when they're in a position to cross the ball, the players tend to drop off, like Rashford did there, for the cutback. And Pep is a believer in that. He thinks that's how you score most of your goals, because if you just cross across that corridor of uncertainty for defenders, they're usually there, zonely or whatever, as expected there. But if you cut it back and players are anticipating that, if you look at the majority of their goals, Man City, there's a cutback used in their play.
Yeah.
So
They
Rashford
are
coming
also-
in there is very effective.
They are also all munchkins that Pep normally picks. I'd like to see if that changes with the introduction of Haaland. But should we look at the goal,
Haaland's like
gents?
Darby O'Gill walking around the place.
I don't know who that is. I'm sorry.
Darby
He's a
O'Gill,
giant.
people, the joints.
Okay.
Gulliver.
Cool.
So,
All right. Do you want to look at the goal?
Yes, let's see the goal.
Yes.
Once again, it's a massive boot up the pitch, which I don't like. But what I do like
it's not an angled ball either. It's just like a straight ball.
Actually, sorry, I'll just play it all the way through, and then we'll
So this is the goal that you're setting up now.
Yeah. Okay. So Omundi, commentary, please.
All right, it's goal kick for Man United. It's played into Rashford. I think the defender won it. Second ball was won by big old Scott McTominay. Runs to Malacia, pops it off to Martinez. A lovely ball by Martinez. First time into Rashford, who's playing on the left side. Turned over to Scott. They switched to play now. Just doing it again. Stop. Well, Varane's driving towards it to engage the block, which creates space for Elanga, who comes in. He's got his head up here. He's looking around. Plays a 1-2 with Sancho, who plays a lovely ball. Another cat-back ball by Dalot, which Bruno seemed to be expecting. He didn't drive into the box. but a cutback ball and it's a lovely pass. So we see we've gone from the left side. Martinez is probing down the left. Suddenly, there's a man on. So he plays the way he's facing Rashford, which is really intelligent. And we decided now to play it back to Varane, who once again engages, as Bath Time was highlighting earlier.
And
Plays it
Bruno and
wide to
Sancho
Elanga.
swap sides.
And we saw Elanga in that position earlier, didn't we? The last graphic move where he comes in from the half space. Lovely cut back there by Dello and a absolutely beautiful finish, I thought. Yeah, well, what's going on here then, guys?
There's a lot. There's a lot going on here, but it's really good.
Even Bruno and Sancho swapped over positions. Like Sancho starts on the left and Bruno's on the right, just outside the box. And just as the ball gets crossed in, it's the opposite way around. Bruno's on the left and Sancho's on the right. So that must be as confusing as hell if you were a centre half standing there and all of a sudden you're like, what's going on? And these fellas are crossing over as well.
I think it's actually the fullbacks that cause the most problems here. And I'll show you why. So we got a big knock up here, and then McTominay bullies Aribo and wins the ball, gets it out to Malathea. And I don't know if you've noticed, but Elanga was here and Dello was here. But Dello has pulled back to try and make the front three, and Elanga is free. So this number 7 has an issue. Does he go out here and leave Bruno one-on-one? Or does he keep the block? So already you can see that these rotations from Sancho, Rashford and Bruno have begun to cause problems.
Good shout.
And as it comes on, this is really, really good from McTominay and Rashford by like presenting an easy pass out here. Like Martinez with this pressure on him, he can't hit that ball. So like plays the way he's facing, and now this is the cool bit. Malathea. Now we're a bit unlucky here because their number 11 has done a really, really good job on like McTominay. I think had to do like a sort of a drag back or something to get this guy off it. But Malathea is straight through, and if this guy's not on McTominay, he can hit that ball, and we're in. And then you'll have like and then you'll have all of them coming. Right, so it doesn't work, and I really like this that we play it back. Right, I really, really like this. And then I want you to look at Dello. And you can also see that Malathea is coming back. Yep.
So Malathea, Malathea made it run. There's 2 points I want to make quickly. If you just touch it back a little bit, go back a little bit from there. So stop. So you showed me the other day about the lines. You shouldn't be in line with each other. So is it just like a little for Martinez to pick up Rashford? Rashford just made himself a little space by making 3-4 yard angle to give himself an angle because he's in a straight line at the moment. You said you can't have straight lines.
So this is
he's created his own space, but
this is the Pep Guardiola principle. This is what is rumoured to happen at Man City: is that they mark the pitch out like this, with loads of horizontal lines, and then like you can imagine the rest. And then there's vertical lines, and you are only allowed to have 3 players on the horizontal and 2 on the vertical. And basically that is a really simple way of getting people to rotate, because you look round and you think, oh no, I'm on the same line as Mahrez, I better go over here. And then Gundogan is like, oh, for fuck's sake, Grealish is in my space again, I've got to go over here. And it's these rotations move things around. So here you can see that Ten Hag quite likes 3 on a line for some reason. And I think the reason he likes 3 on a line is that you can see that we've got 4 of their players here, but we've got Malathea breaking beyond. And if this number 11's not on McTominay, we're through.
Can I stop right there as well? Sorry, it's my second part of the point. So Malathea's got the intelligence to know there's still 5 at the back, as in the rest defense. You always say 5 and 5, and he's actually bombed on, knowing maybe might not get the ball, but he's sort of taking players with him as well, isn't he, in a way? But then, as the ball, that's 5 and 5. But then, as Dalot, as we know, ends up crossing the ball. So somehow, Malacia's got the mindset to get back into that rest defense, which I thought was absolutely outstanding. Just watching this graphic, I'm not seeing this live. Here. Yeah, that's brilliant because Dalot obviously made that run. So
do you think?
Wow, I just have to say wow for Malacia.
Do you think Malacia and Dalot are under strict instruction that if one goes forward, one has to be back?
No. And I say no because in pre-season, Martial scored a goal where both Dalot and Malacia were in attacking midfield positions.
Right.
What happens is that we have like a triangle on each side. So it's Bruno, Dalot, and Elanga here, and it's Malacia, Rashford, and Scott here. If Malacia goes, Rashford has to come back.
Yeah.
And if Scott goes, like Rashford has to come back, or like someone's got to switch. And what this means is that let's say the number 6 is on Scott, and he decides to go there, and Rashford comes through here. Rashford's going to bring the 4 with him, and Scott might bring the 6 with him, and you find that your pivot is there and your central defender is there, and then Malacia goes. And everyone's confused as to where they are. But this is the basis of positional play. And we'll see it on the other side now, if you lads are ready to see what happens on the right. So, as I said before, I thought that we missed Maguire in the first half, and I think Ten Hag agreed with me, because once again, we see Varane engaging the block, and I'll take it back so you can just see what Dalot does.
Yep.
So, Dalot...
Automatic.
It's automatic. Dalot has tied up Gineppo or whatever, or whoever this guy is.
Yeah. Gineppo.
And Alangi is completely unmarked in space. So we can either hit there, or as Elanga moves in to get this pass. But as you can see, we got the 5, and we've got the 5.
That's beautiful rotations, man.
It's really good, isn't it?
I didn't see this before. Just see, like, this is, for me, this is the first time I actually...
Yeah, this is more for me to watch out for now.
Yeah. Okay, so now, this is really cool as well. Because Rashford, who's our centre forward, is now playing left wing. And Sancho and Bruno, that well-known sort of like Phillips and Quinn partnership, are occupying 4 people here. And we've got, look, our pivot is free. And we've got like Dalot going through. So we've got a huge amount of options here, but we're also protected by our rest defense. So we're in a cracking position. And then Sancho is offside here, right? Yeah. He's made the run, and maybe Anthony sees that. Maybe Elanga. Like if we just take it back, maybe Elanga now. Look, there's all this space here to hit. Like maybe he can hit that, but he doesn't. But because of the system, we've still got more options. And then
Dalot's movement there. It goes. Sorry, yeah. Too much. A lot going on, man. It's really
I know. We'll just go through it. I just want to point out that Bruno scores the goal. Has got 2 people on here, right? And then Dalot, as you're completely correct, Dalot makes the run. It doesn't work. He comes back in, and then he makes the same run that Rashford made for the Elanga chance. So what does that do? These players here, so these 2 are collapsing, but this guy's got to go with Dalot. Right? And then look at that space there.
Yeah.
Like Sancho can get into that space, but he doesn't.
He's like a sniper's nightmare, isn't he, Delo? He just keeps running around in circles.
Yeah.
Trying to stretch them.
And then I want to point this out again. It's Bruno that scores, and he's got 2 men on him at this point. And how do those men get off him?
They get back into shape. They think the cross is coming in.
It's Rashford, Langer, and Sancho. All of them are coming in to attack this area here. And they take everyone away, and then Bruno, with a bit of quality, gets it in, and we're still extremely well protected.
You know what?
Defense.
For me, that's the best goal I've seen all season from any team. When you really look at the honestly, I mean, the last 5 minutes have really excited me because looking at it and seeing it's just promising that things are working, and you're seeing the mood like Malacia, what he did, and it being in tune with Dalot for him to have the responsibility to know Varane's pushing up now. I'm not going to draw out wide to receive the ball like he did last time. He's going to drive in now, and knowing that Elanga's going to drop off, it's just the rotations are absolutely stunning. I did watch the game live, and you have to see replays and everything else. Or if you went to the game watching it, you wouldn't really pick up. People say if you go to live games, you get to see different things. Maybe if you've got a good eye. But reviewing things like this, you see the beauty of what's going on here and why we have to do so much training over and over again. This doesn't happen by accident.
It doesn't, and it's only Eriksen that doesn't touch the ball in this move as well. And Eriksen plays his part by just being in the rest defence and holding his position. Like if I stop it here, he's perfectly in line with McTominay.
And he was like that for a lot of the game, wasn't he? By that time,
yes,
himself, McTominay and Eriksen.
Yeah, 100%.
Stunning.
It's such a good goal.
Wow. I'm saying it was a good goal because it's a good move. I thought it was at the time, but it's a good move. And what a finish by Bruno. But seeing all the rotations now.
Yeah. But it's as I say, Malacia and Dalot have caused such problems for the team. Yeah. Like, look, Malacia's pinned 2 players here. Yeah. Like, which means that Alangi's
inverted. He's playing virtually midfield.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the Dutch schooling for him? That way he's picking up so early, he's playing at Feyenoord?
I don't know. I mean, like, when I watched, I watched like 25 minutes or something of like Benfica versus Ajax to look at Ten Hag, and the right back and Danny Blind were doing exactly the same thing. Yeah. So it could be that they're just more used to this type of play, but it's definitely a Ten Hag tactic, and it shows what happens when we keep the ball. Yes. Like. The key thing is, right, is Varane. It's like when we think back to the first half and Varane is just booting the ball over here because they've got a 20-year-old, like, and we reckon we can get at him. It's driving in and engaging this block because that allows Dalot to get forward. That allows Alangi to sort of get in the wide area. Because, I mean, like, just imagine being these 2 players here on Monday. You're playing for Woodlands or whatever, and you got Bruno Dalot and Alangi all coming at you. And then you've got Rashford and Sancho the other side.
You asked the question there. I think rather than the number 7 go out, he's right to stay in. He has to keep it compact there.
Yeah.
Just give up the space. He had to. So, yeah.
Of course. You need to protect. That's like, this is...
Zone 16, as you say.
Zone 16. So this is zone 16 here. And they're protecting it. But that allows Alangi in. And this is probably why, Pat, we won't see a lot of Wan-Bissaka, because you called Dalot a sniper's nightmare, like Sonic the Hedgehog. I can't imagine Wan-Bissaka doing this level of movement and then following it up with here. Wan-Bissaka is sticking it there or maybe there. There is no way that he is looking for the edge of the box for Bruno.
No.
Absolutely no way.
This is what we've wanted to see from Dalot. I mean, a lot of people in questioning but now we've got a good team. Now we've got some structure and some way of playing. He's really, I mean, he deserves extra points from me, just strictly for what I'm seeing here, what he's done. I need to go and watch it again. But seeing your graphics and how you've highlighted the movement he had to do to create that, and the understanding, the IQ, just brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I'm actually drooling that right now.
Well, if you want to see another little bit of Delo,
please, feed me.
Yeah, all right. I haven't animated this, but do you remember the sequence where there were like 3 crazy blocks?
Yes.
In the first half. Okay.
Yeah, we were off our chair, weren't we, Pat?
Yeah.
This is going to be the bit before it, because I'm not pissing about like doing all the blocks, right? You've just got the Fernandez header, but give us some commentary on this, Omundi.
So we've picked up the ball here wide. It's Ericsson, pops it back, 1-2, plays it into Rashford now. He's got his head up. He plays a crossfield ball. We switch to play. Now that mid-block has to go over, shuffle over. Dalot's done a sort of funny ball.
It's a cross.
That's a cross there. So Ericsson's lovely. Popping it into feet. Rashford, a bit worried about that ball, but it gets there. Cross switches to play. You got Elanga right, plays it inside, looks head up. Dalot again has played across and he's got a shot on target. So Dalot again is getting himself in the half space there and delivering, just like they did, delivered across in the first half against us.
So if you look at this, right, we've got our forwards all here, and like we're all right in the block here. But the thing is it's the movement of the forwards that impressed me here. You got Rashford coming in
again. Wow!
And then look at this. He's opened up a huge area right here, and they are going to have to all collapse into this space. Right? You're not allowed to leave that space, are you, Omundi?
No.
Absolutely not. But because of these little pests, Sancho and Ericsson, so it's Sancho and Alangi, like this sort of is. You could make an argument that this is okay because there's two men on each, but this is zone 16, which is the most dangerous area, and there's absolutely no one there at all.
They're being occupied.
Yeah, they're being occupied. All right, now they've closed it down a little bit, but that has allowed Rashford into this space, and I haven't animated this pass particularly well. But it's not a dangerous pass.
Okay.
It looks dangerous, but it's not that dangerous. But you can see the reason it's not that dangerous is the block is here, and the pass goes like that.
Fair enough. Yep.
So it's not. I know it looks bad on the telly or whatever, and you can also see that we're okay here. Like I would prefer Ericsson to be more central, but we've got 4 on 3, so that's never a bad thing.
Yeah.
And then
So all this talk of Manchester United needing a number 9 is all bullshit, really. Because could you imagine?
I don't know.
Could you imagine a Zlatan Ibrahimovic doing what Rashford done there?
No, the thing is though, Pat, is that Rashford is playing like Martial light. Okay. He's not as good as this as Martial is.
Yeah.
Like, there was a cracking bit in the first half, so I don't know if anyone remembers this, where Rashford played Sancho through, but Sancho was offside. So Rashford just went and picked up his own pass. And that's great because we're seeing the work rate finally from Rashford. Like, he's been crucial in every bit of good play. But Martial is better at it than he is.
Yeah.
And also Alangi, who Alangi and Rashford, I've seen on reviews and fan channels and stuff, were meant to be poor in this match. I think they were our 2 best forwards. I thought that Sancho was poor. He did make a difference with a reverse ball, and I don't think that Bruno did a huge amount during the game. I think that Alangi and Rashford were really, really good. They just didn't get a lot of service. And then Delo, where's that, by the way, Pat?
In the half space.
That's the half space. That's exactly where we want him. And he's also got Alangi running over, so you're going to get a little gap forming between the 3 and the 4 because the 3 is just naturally attracted over here. And like, if we were to get held up here, we've got Rashford and Eriksen able to begin to stretch them on this side. But instead, the pivots don't mark Bruno properly. Eriksen has now got into the right position. Sancho's tied his man up here. This guy is worried about Rashford, and this number 8 has gone towards Rashford, right? So he's left Bruno like on the wrong side of the number 6.
I'll be looking out for this in the next game, because in this game, myself and Omundi thought Sancho played very well defensively in the first half.
He did, yes.
In the second half, attackingly on the offense, he wasn't great. And then we kept saying Rashford, he looks like he's not in the game, but he has to be doing something. You know, he's not out of the game. And Elanga looked like he just got smothered completely in the game. But the amount of work rate he's put in here is unbelievable. Like, we don't see.
Yeah, but what you can see here though is that like Sancho and Bruno basically were playing as our centre forwards in between them, and Rashford was starting at centre forward and moving into the left, and that was creating all of the space. So I agree, it might have looked like, when I was watching it, I was a bit pissed off with Sancho, to be honest, because he was just running down blind alleys for me.
No. Sancho's when Sancho's on the ball, he keeps the ball for the team. I think Elanga was all right. Granted, I'm seeing this now, and I'm having to take my words back. But Elanga with his couple times where he's
You're right. I'm still going to argue with you.
They're doing the same thing that Sancho does. Good distribution, good decision making. But Sancho, on the whole, when he has got the ball, he can hold up guys and then bring other people playing.
But he doesn't. He doesn't. He doesn't get people involved in the game. Omundi.
He does.
He dribbles.
This is his strength.
The block comes over, and there's no one there, because what we.
No, but he doesn't cross. He would hold up a guy and then pass it back to play the way he's facing, pass it back or bring the
right.
Where we keep the ball.
The entire first half, our tactic was that Lindelof or Varane or whatever was going to boot it down this channel to Sancho. Did anything come from that? No, absolutely nothing.
Because he had a bully on him, and who was getting there first one-on-one, and he couldn't really do much. You want to get Sancho or Anthony, for example, one-on-one with players because you expect them to beat them, but it didn't happen. Maybe. You know, I can't remember any situation.
Because he played poorly.
But he did get munched. But I'm saying his play, Sancho's play, he is an intelligent footballer. I'm seeing intelligence here by Elanga and Rashford, for example. But overall, I think he's an intelligent player, and I wouldn't trash him. I'm not saying you're trashing him, but I wouldn't.
I'm just saying in this game he played okay. In this game he played poorly.
Keeping the ball, he was keeping hold of the ball, not giving it away.
That might have something to say what Bartholm was on about there a few minutes ago, that Martial does a better job at playing the number 9 role than Rashford. And I do notice that. I do see the better of Sancho when Martial is on the pitch.
Yeah. Like Sancho, I'm not saying Sancho's a bad player. I think that his work rate, his technique, his intelligence is all good. But against Southampton, particularly in the first half, he played poorly because he wasn't able to use any of them to any effect. And I'm not saying that, like, in the first half, I don't think anyone played particularly well apart from Eriksen and Scott, because they were disciplined in their positions. I thought that Martinez, Varane, Malacia and Delot, they defended pretty much what you'd expect them to defend. They didn't really do anything special or anything bad. Malacia and Delot were pretty poor on the ball in the first half, and Sancho wasn't particularly. I thought Sancho was poor, but when the tactics change, and you see like, is this it here? No, and when you see Varane beginning to take people on, you see everything changing, and I know I'm gonna get told off in the read me the comments actually.
There's a couple good ones here because Andy Long is in the comments. He's saying, who dug out Sabutio? For those who's old enough to remember that fantastic game. And this is a great one here from Andy saying, good analysis, guys. On a more serious note, highlighting some things a lot of casual fans may not be aware of. He gives us the thumbs up. So I like
Thank
that
you.
comment there. And Andy Long's also saying Wan-Bissaka cross equals Rose Z. We're not going to talk about transfer news. That's for another show. Andy Long's also saying we want to make me fire up my old Championship Manager game because of the graphics. It does resemble that. Andy Long's also saying the rest of them can't keep up with Jason Sanchez.
Jadon Sancho, I assume.
Yeah, Sancho does get bullied quite a lot, he says. Okay.
All right. This is the last thing that I wanted to say because I found this hilarious when I watched it. But it's about Casemiro. Now, I don't know about you boys, and we have spoken about this previously. Casemiro's 10 minutes for me was absolutely dreadful. Like, it was... He got nutmegged twice. He slid off the pitch with a challenge. He broke the block 4 times. And I know what it's about. It's about him being a big boy and coming to show everyone.
Yeah, let me stamp it. Watch this.
Yeah. But, like, look at this.
That's Fred, isn't that Fred in disguise?
Yeah. Maybe that's why he and Fred are so good, because if McTominay was like Fred, he'd be there. But like, you can't be doing this.
No.
Right? You can't be leaving that space there by charging out. And
Fred told him to do that.
And then this is the sequence where Scott McTominay broke his ACL and then just shook it off.
Yes,
but this is really, really, really poor from Casemiro, and it's something to be worried about, to be honest, because you can't be doing this. We talk about blocks all the time.
Shouldn't you be close to the whole point here? You engage a guy when you know before he receives the ball, maybe not while he's got the ball. So he's got the ball there,
right? So
there's no point engaging there because you just pass it around you.
We're basically in a block here. This is the area that we want to protect.
Yes.
And it is protected. We got Ronaldo. Yeah, like maybe he can do something if the ball breaks. We know that he didn't. And then, right, gets played around. So here, we've already highlighted in the show that when the ball goes out here, we expect Malacia and a pivot. We expect the pivot to stay in the half space, and we expect Rashford to come out and help, and McTominay will come in here to protect the near post. That's what we saw all game, time and time again, and then he does this. And it wasn't the only time that he did this, by the way.
The triangle.
Yeah, and it's like it's just the reason that I've highlighted it is because I think it's funny, but also, we got a week of training or like 4 or 5 days of training. I'm not sure Casemiro is going to start against Leicester. I think that we're going to keep Scott and Eriksen, and that Casemiro will probably come in for the Arsenal game. So I don't want people to be disappointed if they don't see Casemiro on the team sheet. By doing stuff like this, just randomly charging in, he hasn't earned his place in the team, but he will play.
That is irresponsible. Just to quickly add, so Shanton's here. He's saying, "Evening, guys. Just joined in. Where are we at?" So we've started off by talking about the build-up shape in the first half, how we sort of went to a 3-4-3 with a asymmetric fullback, which meant the fullback would end up in midfield, and we're trying to get the ball out, play the ball out like that, which we ended up playing sort of long balls half the time. Then we talked about McTominay, how important he was when he dropped off. Do you want to just describe that, how he dropped off, Pat? What McTominay did with dropping off to the near post?
Yeah, well, what I kept noticing was the further up the pitch we got, the more Scott came over the fence, and the further we got back to our goal and we were defending as a unit, I just kept noticing Scott McTominay coming back in to into the fence and standing in there with Martinez and Varane and supporting them and giving that extra bit of strength in the defence is what I noticed.
And Bath Time done a brilliant graphic where he showed McTominay come back in and clear a header from a cross, a dangerous cross that was whipped into the
Very
box.
important.
We talked about the mid block, which is Pat's favourite topic right now. We had a few graphics about that. We've shown you the goal. We showed the build up to the goal. Before that, it's the trap, the setup to the goal. How Varane at half time was instructed. Bath Time beautifully picked this out. How Varane was in the first half, they'd get the ball and they didn't have anyone pressing them so much. But in the second half, they decided to push on a little bit and engage the first block. And when that guy tried to engage him, they'd pop it off and it would create things. It would open things up. So that I didn't see that in watching the game at Bath Times. Got an eye for these things and really picked that out. And finally, now we're just discussing Casemiro as he's coming to the side and how he done a bit of a thread where he sort of rushed out all wild and thing and got played round like a Bermuda Triangle and left his space, left his block, which is really irresponsible for a player that's supposed to be one of the greatest defensive midfielders in the world. That's where we're at.
And I think that's probably where we finish, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say. Just want to do a couple comments as well here because Andy Long saying once he skins a few people, he will become more confident. Talk about Sancho, I hope, and hopefully skip past defenders instead of staying and allow himself to be bullied while he hesitates. Well, Andy Cosman's saying a 5-time Champions League winner would just do just fine. He's talking about Casemiro, but it could be Varane as well. Andy Long saying can't blame him for being enthusiastic. Talk about Casemiro. If Erik Ten Hag has a word, he has enough experience to take it on board. Do you just want to touch on that about whether that was enthusiasm or just excitement about being his first day? He wanted to close things down, not knowing, the tactics, not knowing the league.
Bruv. He's been speaking to Ronaldo and Varane and all his mates, and they've all told him it's, there's no easy games, all that kind of stuff, and he's gone out with big balls saying that I'm the best defensive midfielder in the league and I'm going to clean all these clowns out. And he's come in to stamp his authority and all that, Russia blood to the head. And I'm pretty sure after a week in training, they'll explain to him, look, you can't just, this isn't like Celta Vigo. Or
imagine McTominay could be explaining it to him.
Yeah, him, McTominay, and Fred just all sitting around the brains trust. But I just thought it was really weird to see a £60 million, 5 times Champions League winner playing like a chicken. I couldn't believe it, but I think he'll be absolutely fine. It was just him trying to stamp his authority on the league, and we need that. We need that kind of big bollocks in the club.
Emma's really impressed. Emma Kay is really impressed at the moment. She's saying if they do what they're being told to do, then I imagine we do just fine, and we will too. She's happy about that. What we're seeing with the tactics. Andy Long saying hopefully Casemiro, can help us manage games better and not let opponents get that comfortable. Shanton saying thanks guys. You made a great point. You asked us for the update. Go and watch the show from the start if you really want to get all the insight into what's been going on today. Shanton's also saying Casemiro had a crazy 10 minutes. He will play systematically soon.
I agree.
Old Andy Long saying Old Trafford debut is due. And finally, Brushy is saying big up guys. It's been a great stream. It has, hasn't it? Really. Pat, how do you feel about being on board with the eye test? You've been sat here like ourselves, taking it all in. I mean, what's your first experience like of the eye test?
Enlightened, educated in the half space. No, it's great, lads, because as you keep saying, it's opening our eyes for when we're watching the match the next time, and it's not just people shouting and screaming at the television going, Scott McTominay, you're shit. Hello, you're shit. Casemiro, you're shit. Varane, you're shit. You're actually watching what they're doing. And if a mistake is made, you can understand where this mistake may come from. And it's better that way instead of just calling everybody shit all the time. Because that drives me up the wall.
Do you
hate
think
it.
fans will become more educated on the whole? Because I don't like it when I go to games and people are booing when they're playing the ball back and just recycling the ball, for example. It's like they want English football has always kind of been in the dark ages, crashing the ball, physical stuff. But there's an art to the game, isn't there? It's a beautiful game, football, isn't it? Half time.
Yeah, like it's just like I love football analysis. Like I love football. It's the best thing in the world, and it's so nice to be able to share it with all of you. So if you like watching a little bit later, not live, etc., like, and you think that we've talked a load of bollocks, or you disagree with something or whatever, like no one's going to cry here about you having a different opinion to us. Like, it's not that deep. So please, like, send comments, like chat to us, because we're really proud of this show, and like we work really really hard on it, and we'd like, we really hope that comes across, and we just love sharing it with you.
Thank you. Just a couple more comments here. JR saying, this is one of my favorite shows on YouTube. You are a nerd too. You are I Test nerd too.
What do you mean,
as
what?
as
What?
we all are. This is Mehdi saying the same to JR. He believes this is one of the best shows on YouTube. Cosmo saying day trippers are impatient. Indeed. And finally, Mehdi saying educational and fun. Yeah, I totally agree with you guys. It's been brilliant. I really enjoyed that. You know what? Sorry, Bath time. I just have to say, Pat, like, obviously, our circumstances watching the game, and I wasn't able to take notes or do anything like that. So I wasn't watching it with that mindset of the eye test. And I'm so pleased that you've actually highlighted a few things that I didn't see. I didn't notice, having watched the game just once, So just credit to you, Bath time, because the things that you showed me today really turned me on. It shows me why we should. It shows me why we should be confident about these next two games. So we've got Leicester coming up, and Arsenal in the next two, and it looks like the players are well drilled. That movement there from Dalot and Malacia to know about getting 5 and 5 and come back, and then to know, all right, if Rand's going to be bringing the ball out, I'm going to drive into that space, occupy their fullback, and create space for Elanga. It's just like, wow. It's to be on like, it's like when a band plays sweet music and everyone clicks. That's a beautiful thing to see. And I need to go back and watch these things over. I'm going to watch the show again, and the graphics and everything else, to see it over and over again, to see just how brilliant that is. This is a pattern of play, and you will create chances based on this. So I salute Ten Hag. Most of all, I salute you, Bath time, because we actually try going to a game, like we're saying, watching a game of football and screaming and shouting and getting involved in getting excited over a little rough and tumble. But the art, just the beauty of it, that's what I'm really enjoying. And yeah, you just highlighted that brilliantly today, more so than ever before. Sorry, I'm really hyped, but I love that. I love what I just saw.
Cheers.
Just a couple more. Cosman's dropped some dough. Yes, we earned it. He's saying, good Lord, how good will Lord Darius rate Ten Hag's coaching? Over to you, Darius.
I mean, it's like, I think it's too early to tell at the moment, Ajmal, but the signs are that we've got a proper manager who, and this is really important, is pragmatic. Like, he started off with like single pivots and we got pressed. He dropped McTominay. He moved Eriksen into the pivot. We got absolutely pulverized, but he recovered, and we beat Liverpool, and then we beat Southampton, who've just done over Chelsea. And I'm really pleased with the fact that he can adapt, that he looks at the squad and he's like, we need a double pivot. Like we need to drop Ronaldo, because Ronaldo was fit at the weekend and Rashford started over him. And I think tonight we've illustrated why Rashford started over Ronaldo and why I don't expect to see Ronaldo play against Leicester or against Arsenal.
Not after watching this video, to be honest with you.
So true. Honestly, you can't. The evidence is there. Case closed, guys. Sorry, I'm that confident about it. A few more comments here. Shanton saying, subscribed. Glad you made the point of being okay with different opinions. That's lovely, isn't it? We're here to discuss these things, and bump heads sometimes as well. Shanta's also saying, looking forward to the point where the manager's instructions become second nature. The levels will rise.
Good point.
Is that the intention here?
Really good point.
Guys?
Yeah.
HD Gamer saying, hello guys, very late. Andy Long saying, agrees, Shanton. After Christmas, it'll be interesting to see how much they have progressed as a team. We've seen progression already. Imagine by Christmas. Shanton saying it will be interesting how he will balance the squad during the season, substitution-wise as well, he's stating. And Shanton finally saying, important to keep most of the entire squad happy.
One thing we didn't notice about Eric Ten Hag, he doesn't seem to make a substitute first. He always lets the other team make their first substitute before he makes his. So just watch out for that, guys. It's like a game of poker myself and Omundi noticed when we were sitting there watching the game on Saturday.
Is that from our Dutch correspondent as well? Like, his name escapes me at the moment, but
Vincent Demise.
Yes, yeah. Vincent said like not to expect a lot of substitutions from Ten Hag and to like winning team normally plays, which I'm a fan of, to be honest. But he has to make subs. I don't want to go back to the days of like Ollie, like just not putting anyone on. Just I don't know. Van der Beek as his comfort blanket. Felt lost if he was on the pitch.
Like a hot water bottle on the sideline. Yeah. All he was used for.
He's like, come here, Donny. Yes, okay.
Andy Long saying, Ronaldo staying or not could be decisive to the team harmony and progression.
He's got to go.
He's go on.
Ronaldo's got to go.
After that.
I think it's...
Frankie Endgame now, says HD Gamer. So
are we signing Frankie de Jong?
It looks like it, but we're not here to talk about transfers. Excuse me, do you want to slap on the wrist half time?
Yes, please.
You said it's a tactics show. No.
It is a tactics show. But just wait till I start talking about the rings of power and like.
Oh no, thank you. No, thank you. Cosman's saying Ronaldo wasted 2 goals.
He did.
To go 2-0 maybe, yeah. Wow,
he did.
That was absolutely brilliant. I'm even more excited. People said it was a dull game, but there's so much more to it than that. You can watch the game and think, this is boring. But as you can see from the graphics highlighted today on the show, there was a lot going on. You just have to have the eye test, don't you? And I think everyone by the end of this will be wearing eye test glasses and T-shirts and going to games and advising people about what's going down. This is going to be the new movement.
If anyone wants any of the graphics or whatever, like put it in the comments, like the animations and that lot, and I've got no issue like linking them to you if you want. If you want to go and compare them with what you see on the TV, and maybe you see things that we haven't seen. Like I've got no problems with that if anyone wants them.
Brushy saying if Ron does end up staying, I think he get his head down as he's got the World Cup in sight. So yeah, he wants
if Ronaldo was to say and he was to do kind of a Paul Scholes, Ryan Giggs, and adopt a different position, where could he play? Or is it just too much movement and too much movement for him to be in the team now?
I don't know. Like
I think his build-up play is okay. Everything we've seen Rashford do, I think he can do. It's not because you said it's not like Rashford's working, running channels and showing pace and getting behind. He's subtle movements, just drawn away from the defender. Ronaldo done it last year. The goal against Brentford, where he peeled off the centre back and allowed someone else to get the space in behind, Elanga maybe. I think Ronaldo is capable of doing it. It's just like you said, maybe if he gets on point and starts to put his head down and be humble, he could be effective. Could be.
Yeah, I agree. He's got to buy in because like, Ashmel earlier on mentioned like Ronaldo wasted 2 goals, and one of them was like a transition which was almost identical to the one we scored against Liverpool, where Martial put Rashford through. Ronaldo put Rashford wide with a poor pass, but he put him wide because he wanted to score the goal. So like he puts Rashford out wide, Rashford crosses. Ronaldo taps it in. This kind of like egotistical, narcissistic, like like masturbation that Ronaldo is going through is not conducive to a football team. You're not going to win stuff like that. And I know he wants to leave, but he's got to deal with the fact no one wants him. And what I'd expect to see from Ronaldo is 6 months or to the World Cup of him showing Champions League teams that he can actually play like in sort of more pressing, possession-based, hard-running systems, and then get his move. Because at the moment, I don't see, I can't. He's not getting into the team if everyone's fit, because he's not contributing at the same levels as everyone else is. And like Ronaldo is a much better player than Rashford and Martial. So if we can just get him to bloody work and do what he's meant to do, and stop making it about himself, then happy days.
Yeah, agreed.
It comes across as a square peg in a round hole at the moment in that squad after watching that video, to be quite honest with you, lads.
I'm with. I think he can do it. I had a big back and forth with someone from another channel who was saying that he can't play. He hasn't got the legs to do the work that Ten Hag requires him to do. But I think he actually can because it's not like what Martial's doing effectively and doing the best job at the moment is not, like you say, hard running or expecting him to get in behind like he did when he got caught. There's a great comment there earlier saying he got easily caught by the two centre backs. So I think Ronaldo can do it. It's just given time, he can adapt and be a great attribute to the team. Coming off the bench maybe or even starting if he gets to that level. But yeah, it's a lot of, imagine we're here sitting here talking about Ronaldo not getting in the team and on merit. And that's how where we're at the moment. So yeah, I'm really encouraged by the show. My chest is going to be swelling up tomorrow. I'm going to be boasting about Man United and I'm back it up by what we've seen today. So bath time, once again, thank you so much. You've really sort of illustrated your points really well, especially the point about the halftime change with Varane and how that made a huge difference. To me, that stands out. And obviously the point about the rotations, which was even the best I've seen so far. That goal has to be goal of the season so far. I don't care about some volley from outside the box or anything like that, or by anybody, or say Maximum or whoever's scoring good goals. To me, that was the best football goal I've seen when it's really been broken down. So yeah, I love it. I can't wait for the next week's show where we talk about 2 different games and there's going to be so much action going on. Pat, last word for you.
Can't wait for Anthony in the half space on Sunday.
And bath time, any final words?
Good night, lads. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, man.
We're signing out. Don't forget, guys, you can tune into Man United Agenda 8:30 every day of the week. And obviously Tuesday, don't forget, 10 p.m. That's when you see the eye test. And Friday at 10 p.m. as well, it's the TalkMU and Mr. B. They do the Friday night takeaway. Apart from that, we do post-match reviews, previews for games as well, which we've done one earlier at 8:30 with Andy Tate. And so wish us luck for Man United Agenda. Make sure you do the eye test when you're watching them against Leicester and at Arsenal this week, because bath time we'll be expecting you to tune in, and maybe you can answer all the questions in the comments. That'd be great. But from me, Omundi Juma, from Pat Lawless, and from bath time, we thank you. We're signing out. I know it's late, but tune in afterwards. And if you've got any comments, make sure you leave them in the comment section on this YouTube channel after the show. But for now, we're off to bed and we've done a good job. So good night and God bless. Bye-bye.